How's everybody doing today? This is Sterling Smith from Loin Booty Barbecue, and I have my man here, Phil the Grill. How you been doing, Phil?
I'm doing good, baby. How are you?
Good to see you, brother.
Definitely.
So Phil the Grill is here. Today we're gonna be cooking up some pork loins. Now, Phil, when you're cooking up pork loin, what do you look for in a good pork loin?
You know what? I'm looking for a clean pork loin. I'm looking for something that I don't have to trim that much. You know, it's a real lean piece of meat.
Exactly.
You know, so I'm looking for one. You know, you're gonna have some trimming, but you know, something that doesn't have a whole lot of silver skin, a nice pink flesh.
Exactly.
You know, this is pretty good. I like this one.
Perfect. And you know, in competition barbecue, we're mostly cooking the pork shoulder.
Yes.
Which comes off the shoulder, and there's a little bit of that money muscle
Or
on
the
there,
butt.
which we look
Or
for.
the
Or
butt.
the butt, baby. Exactly. We cook the pork butts.
Yeah.
But this loin comes from a different part of the pig.
Yeah.
So that's along the backbone there. It's really, like you said, really lean.
Yes.
Doesn't get a lot of work out. So we need to get some flavor into this
Yes,
pork loin.
definitely.
So what we're going to do today is, you know, we've been doing research. We've been doing competition barbecue a long time now, and you hear people of injecting with various different things. And I've heard of soda a lot.
Yeah.
Have you heard of people injecting with soda, pop, Coke?
Yeah.
What do you call it? What do you call it in New York?
Soda.
You call it soda. You know,
What about you, Georgia boys?
being in Georgia, everything's Coke. Mountain Dew, Pepsi, Sprite, it's all Coke in the South.
Okay,
It's all Coke.
okay.
So I'm gonna do a little mixture of Coke, pineapple juice, a little bit of hot sauce, and I'm gonna inject this pork loin. What are
Okay.
you gonna do with yours?
Hey, you know what? I don't have to mix. I actually like Dr. Pepper and cherry Coke. So, I mean, well, cherry Dr. Pepper.
Exactly.
So I'm getting a little bit of cherry flavor into it, and I like the Dr. Pepper flavor.
Has a
with
nice
the
little
cherry.
spice to it, doesn't it?
Definitely. So I'm gonna just inject with the Dr. Pepper cherry, and then I'm going to rub it down with a little olive oil.
Perfect.
And then I'm gonna use the south of the border seasoning.
Get some of that Southwest
Yes,
flavors in
you
there.
Got a little bit of heat, a little
Exactly.
bit of sweetness of the cherry Coke. cherry Dr. Pepper.
Sounds good to me.
Good.
So let's start trimming these up. You're gonna grab yours, I'm gonna grab one here. These look really good. Like I said, I want firm. You want some of that silver skin that's right here. What we're gonna do is take some of that silver skin off. Not too much, like Phil said, this is a lean cut of meat.
Yeah.
So if there's any fat that's running through there, I wanna keep that on there. I'll just take some of the big fat pockets off and just clean it up a little bit. So we're looking just for a clean piece of meat. Anything that's on the end that's hanging off, we just wanna make sure we cut that off because we want this thing to cook uniformly.
That's correct.
Exact. So one points are gonna be hotter, or one point's gonna be, you know, cooler in a certain area. So we're just trying to get uniformity here, clean off these fat pieces, and just get a nice, perfect.
I noticed with this little small knife, you know, you could really get underneath that silver skin and kind of like pull it back and just follow it. You know?
Definitely. A good fillet knife, definitely a sharp knife,
Yep.
so you can get under that silver skin. You wanna, that's not really gonna be a good bite, so we're just gonna take that silver skin off. And that silver skin is where the skin and the flesh were meeting, and it's separating muscle groups as well.
And with that being said, that, you know, that also takes away from the rub to adhere to the meat, right? So that's blocking it, right?
Exactly.
So you're not going to get that flavor into your meat if you got that silver skin on top.
Exactly. We want to make sure we got a nice bark all the way around this. We got the seasoning all around. It sticks to it. And we're just going to add some more flavor. Basically, it's just another level of flavor.
There we go.
I think mine's looking pretty good over here. How about you?
I'm looking good over here too.
We're going to do 2 of these each. So,
Okay.
you know,
Let's turn it up.
let's do it.
Turn up.
So I'm just going to take this silver skin, get this fillet knife, and go right under that silver skin. And we're going to run it along just like that.
Yeah.
Not too deep into the meat, but we want to make sure that we are taking that silver skin off and any hanging pieces.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think I'm looking good over here. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm about to start applying rubs.
Perfect.
So like I said, I'm going to start with a little olive oil to make sure the rub adheres perfectly. You know, and that's the thing. So, you know, the rub adheres to the meat, and then with the pork, I like to let it sweat, right?
Definitely.
So sweating is just, you know, a method before you put it on the smoker. You know, a lot of people like to let things sit overnight in their seasoning.
Right.
Yeah, I tend to find that the salt content from the rubs kind of dries out the meat.
I hear you,
the
definitely,
longer,
definitely.
You know? So, you know, the best thing is fresh meat, you know, rub it down with whatever you're lathering it with.
Right.
Throw a little bit of the rub on, and then just let it sit for about 10 minutes and let it sweat.
Perfect. I'm the same way, and I do this in competition cooking as
Yes,
well,
correct.
especially with ribs and pork. I like to put that seasoning on and let the pores in the meat just open up. And when they open up, they're gonna accept all that flavoring. They're gonna be smoked and baked into the meat. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna create that awesome bark that we're looking for. So I really like that idea about letting it sweat in. I usually do about 10, 20 minutes. On a cut like this, if I'm doing ribs, I may do a half an hour to an hour to let that sweat in.
Yep.
But on this this cut of loin, I'm gonna do about 10, 15 minutes.
Yep.
Now I see that you're putting your slather on before you inject. Is that what you're gonna do?
Well, I'm just rubbing them down with a little bit of olive oil.
Okay.
So, you know, I tend to do that first. You know, who knows, but I feel
That's the Jay-Z of barbecue style.
I feel that it actually keeps some of the injection in better if you put a little coat on top.
I hear you.
You know, so.
Now we got these pork loins trimmed up nice. We got some of that silver skin off. We got some of the fat pockets off. We're gonna start injecting. Now I have a mixture of Coke, pineapple juice, and a little bit of hot sauce. Phil, you're going straight with that cherry Dr. Pepper.
Oh, yeah.
That's gonna add some great flavor to that.
Nice flavor, nice hint of cherry. I love it. You know what? That's my trick with the glaze on the Thanksgiving hams.
We're about to get some tricks here. Listen up.
Yeah. You know, that cherry Dr. Pepper glaze?
Yeah.
You know, on some nice, you know, Thanksgiving ham.
Oh man, that's good stuff,
That's
huh?
my stuff.
I hear you. So when you're injecting, do you have any method that you do, or do you like to just grip it and rip it? That's what I call it.
Yeah, you know, you gotta be careful with the soda because it can backfire on you a little bit, right?
I hear you.
But yeah, you know, just try to do everything a little slow. A few different spots. You know, you can actually see when you start injecting, the liquids go into the meat. You know.
Absolutely. I can see that coming through there. It looks great. And I'm gonna get mine going in. I think that pineapple juice. I like pineapple juice with pork. I think it breaks down the tendons inside. Some of the.
It does. That pineapple juice with the citrus in the pineapple juice actually helps soften the meat.
Absolutely.
Breaks down the fibers. So you're definitely right with that.
So when I'm injecting these pork loins, what I'm gonna do is start at the big end. I'm just gonna do a crosshatch pattern every half inch or so. Inject in there and just get a little bit. I'm going about half the needle because I want it directly in the middle of that. So I'm going about half the needle, halfway through, and just a crosshatch pattern across the whole thing, just like that.
Definitely.
And I usually just do one side. I don't do both. I mean, you're gonna get enough flavor in there that that's all you need.
Definitely.
We're holding in as much moisture as possible, and we're just accenting the meat right now with our injection. We're not taking anything away from the flavor of the pork. We're just adding to it. And I think with this injection, we're gonna get some great flavor out of it.
And one thing too that I've done in the past that I didn't do today was actually leave my Coke sitting out. It's better to do this when it's flat, you know? You don't need the bubbles.
Exactly. You don't need that carbonation in there.
No. So you can actually just let, open a can if you're doing it the next day. Just let that can open and leave it overnight and then come back to it. It'll be nice and flat for you.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about, the carbonation.
Just open it up and leave it in the fridge.
Yeah.
I like to do any injection that I do into meat, I want to make sure that my injection's cold. I don't want to inject at room temperature or warm injection. I think warm injection, you're going to cook those little spots and it's going to not cook evenly. So I like to have any of the injections that I'm doing cold, or at least the temperature of the meat that I'm cooking at.
You know, I found that out by accident. I got prepared. I was preparing myself for a competition, and I did my injections like the day before. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep them in the refrigerator, and I put them in my cooler. And so when I got on site, these beef injections were nice and cold.
Right.
It actually helped me. It helped me because it thickened the injections and it helped stay into the meat.
Exactly.
Especially on something like brisket that will just shoot out.
Right.
You know, that thick injection really actually helps stay in.
It holds in the muscle fibers. It keeps it in there, and it allows everything that we're putting into that meat. We want to make sure it stays in the meat.
Exactly.
We want to make sure it makes it tender and flavors the meat.
Yep.
So we want to make sure when we're doing this, it's not just going to run out. And the cool thing about a pork loin, it's a solid muscle. So a lot of that's going to stay in there.
Yep.
I think I'm good injecting. Where are you at?
I'm good.
All right. We're done injecting.
Yes.
Now we're going to apply our rub. So what do you do when you do your rub? You're going to put it straight on there?
Yeah,
Perfect.
definitely. Just get a nice little sprinkle going. I want to go a little heavy on the pork. I already wiped it down with olive oil, so
Perfect.
I'm gonna flip it and get both sides of this baby.
Flip it and rip it.
That's it.
I hear you. Now I'm gonna do a little mustard slather. In competitions, have you ever done mustard on ribs or pork butt?
Yeah. I really thought that mustard would, come out in the flavor profile, but it doesn't.
It actually doesn't at all. I've tried mustard various times. I like that it creates a nice little crust on there with the rub. So I'm gonna put a little Dijon mustard crust on it, not a lot. I'm just gonna get both sides of this, a little bit on both sides. And like anything with seasonings or rubs, I believe a little goes a long way. I like to get a nice little coat of all the rub on there, but you know, I don't want that everywhere. I think sometimes if you put too much rub on it, you can get like a grainy feel or that bitter taste, but I think you can get grain. So I like to do a nice little coat on these and let them sit a little bit. And like you said, I want that seasoning to open up. I want it to sweat. Yeah. Those pores to open up, and then all that flavor to get down in that pork loin.
You know, I'm gonna say I'm a little bit different. You know, I definitely want to make sure.
I know you're different. I know you're different.
Against the grain.
Against the grain. I love it. I love it.
But you know, I want to actually make sure I coat that whole tenderloin because I want everything to crust. I want everything to have flavor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. I don't want to cake it on to where there's, you know, big seasoned pockets.
Right.
Where you're biting into that, and that's all you're tasting is a big clump of seasoning. So
this is all about balance.
Yes.
We want the balance of the injection. We want the balance of the seasoning. We want the natural flavor of the meat to come through, but we're accenting it here. We're accenting it with cherry Dr. Pepper, some southwestern flavors. Yeah. We're accenting it with Coke and pineapple juice, and then some of this roasted garlic chipotle rub. That's gonna be nice on this pork loin.
A little garlic and pork.
Ooh, man, you can't go wrong with that.
But you can't hang out with me for the rest of the day.
No, I'm vampire status. I'm vampire status. There we go.
Cool.
So we got these pork loins seasoned up. We're gonna give them about 10 to 15 minutes to sweat to accept all that flavoring. And then we're gonna go at the Jim Bowie at 400 degrees. We're using some fruit wood blend. You know what's in that fruit wood blend?
You got cherry, pecan, and beech.
That's great flavoring in there. And that all that wood and all that flavoring and the mixture of that wood is gonna add some great flavor to these pork loins.
I love cherry. You know, the cherry.
You're a cherry man.
The cherry wood.
I hear you.
You know,
I hear you.
You can't go wrong.
Man, I'm about to chase a cherry bomb in here. Maraschino cherries. So these have been sitting here for about 10, 15 minutes. That seasoning is all into it. Look at it sweating already. It looks great. Let's take them and put them on the Jim Bowie.
Let's do it.
Now we're gonna cook at 400 degrees. At about 400 degrees, with these pork loins, we want about 145 degrees internal. That's what we're looking for. So at this temperature with these loins, it's probably gonna take about 20, 30 minutes. We'll check them in 20 and we'll do a thermopin. We're gonna see if it's 145 degrees and then we're gonna go from there. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Oh, you hear that? Those look beautiful, don't they?
Yeah.
Nice. We're gonna check on these pork loins. They look beautiful. They got great color. They've been on about 20, 25 minutes. I think they're ready to come off and rest a little bit. Perfect.
These are ready.
Right there. Those look beautiful.
Woo. These look Can't wait to cut into this. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna let them rest for a little bit?
What I usually like to do, anything meats-wise, I want that moisture. I want as much moisture in there. So I usually let mine rest about 10, 15 minutes. I'll put some foil over these. Sometimes I'll come across with some butter to create an au jus on that.
Got it.
But we're gonna let these rest. We're gonna slice into them, see what we got. All right, Phil, we got these pork loins off. We had them on for about 20, 25 minutes.
Yes. I love the color.
Oh, it looks great.
I got a little crust on them, you know, a little bark.
It looks great. That southwestern rub that you put on there created a beautiful crust on there. I think it's gonna go great with that cherry Dr. Pepper.
And so we had them resting for about 5 minutes?
About 5, 10 minutes. We want that juice. You know, they've been in that heat for 20, 25 minutes, getting just bombarded by that heat. What we want to do is let those muscles relax. And when those muscles relax, they're going to retain more moisture. So it's very important to rest your meat 5, 10 minutes, depending on what you're cooking. But 5, 10 minutes is perfect for this cut.
Definitely.
They were temped around 145 degrees.
Yes.
When you rest them, they're going to come up a little bit. So we're going to cut into these and see what we have.
Let's cut
Let's do it. Baby. I like to do a little crosshatch on mine. I go at an angle just to get a little nice presentation on that.
I like to start in the middle and see what I'm working with. I like to get right into the
How's that look? Woo. That looks beautiful. Woo. Look at that moisture in there.
Yeah.
That's looking good. What size medallions do you like to cut?
I try to do like about a ½ an inch, you know.
Definitely.
You know.
You can see all those juices come out. Everything looks beautiful in that. Nice medallions. They're slicing perfectly. We got a little bit, you can see, they were only on for 20, 25 minutes. Look, you can see that pink smoke ring around there.
You know, those Green Mountain grills are great, you know, for smoke, you know?
Absolutely. So we got 2 different pork loins here. You got the cherry Dr. Pepper one that looks amazing. That crust is awesome.
Woo.
Great moisture.
Yeah.
I did the pineapple with the Coke. 2 different flavors. You can do this in your backyard.
Yes.
It's easy.
Yes.
The Green Mountain Grills does it every time. Cheers, brother.
Woo.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Love
definitely.
it.
Good stuff, good stuff.